Yeah, that is weird because it's like a lot of people play it, but you don't really like see it, so to speak. It's just kind of like I don't know, an underground game. I don't want to say underground game, like an unspoken competitive game, because it's not really in the forefront, at least at this time. It is getting more popular. A lot more people are, bringing it out, I guess, a little bit more, but there's, again, I have to agree with you. There's a lot of room to maneuver in there and to add things and to get them big because it's popular. I mean, who doesn't like watching people duke it out in games, especially if they're really good at it? I mean, it's an awesome entertainment. It really is.
It is. Like, I mean, so, like, one of the things with regard to, like, the future, is, like, I look at esports and try to compare it a lot to sports, right? You think how big, how pervasive, like, regular sports are. You walk into any bar, you see, sports on TV. Kids are playing sports in leagues, geographic leagues, everywhere. Every camp they go to, sports is something. And I think that there's a way for games to get there. And it's going to take a lot of different things, but there's no reason that, like, you couldn't be watching something that's game related. I'm not just saying, like, strictly like watching a league match on, like, at a bar. Like, it could be, watching, I think games are entertaining in general, but, like, there's a lot of stuff that could be up there, or something like G4 again, or Twitch, right? You could be up in a bar. They're because most people sitting in that space aren't really paying attention. You think about things like reality shows where people are competing with music. They're super competitive places, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's dance or singing. Imagine being able to take games and use it in the same exact place. So instead of, like, a dance competition where you're live, what if you mocapped up, like, two, like a couple, and they went like they went all Fred Astaire, but, like, you saw it as, like, Ryu and Chun-Li dancing through, like, with backgrounds that rotate. I mean, how cool would that be, right?
That's awesome.
So, going back to esports for a second, I think that, like, why it is the way it is and how it's going to change, esports started and still is, a lot of those big AAA companies funding their own tournaments,
Yeah.
So that's why there's only a few titles. I think that and when you look at the growth of TF2 and a few other scenes, like the Smash community, right? Like, that grew out of people playing Smash the way Nintendo did not want them to play it. It wasn't intended.
That's true. I mean, that's when that came out, it was just like, it was, not supposed to be super competitive, but, like, fun or anything like that. Wasn't, I don't think they saw it as, like, a tournament style game.
But yeah, it wasn't supposed to be like two-player. It was supposed to be like a free-for-all, and players found the way that, you could compete with this. I think, like, Evolve, actually, I read an article with their team where they were asked about esports, like, would Evolve ever become an esport? And their answer was perfect. It was, if players want it to be and they show us how to make it, well, then we'll support the features they want. And that I think is, like, the future for a big part of the future for esports and the industry is listen to the fans, see how they, see where you can support them, support the game for them, but also support like tournament, organized event support, all of that. And you will see games move from being like an online only, thing to where they actually show up regularly, not just to play the game that they love, like League, but to play other games and to play competitively, games that they either haven't played or are less familiar with, and that's good for everybody.
Yeah, it is good. It'll be interesting to see where that does go. Because, I mean, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of availability for growth in there. So, and no one has ever mentioned esports before. In all the interviews I've done, the first person to ever mention the esports. And going in that direction.
I don't know. I don't, like I said, I don't come from games, so I don't think about them the same way. Like another really important thing to me personally, and it's something that very much inspires me, is the university scene, the college community. So I come out of I went to UC Berkeley. I went to the University of Illinois for an MBA, and in the latter, like, I really got involved in event planning. And what I got from that, firstly tied to like university events, is those clubs much like indie devs, they have really low budgets. They're in school, and you've got leaders across the school that are trying to do things off of nothing. So when we started promoting the first game and into now, I started reaching out to every gaming community at this point I'm in touch with about 150 university gaming clubs. And by in touch, I mean probably on every 2 or 3 months we probably touch base. I try to support all their big events with free keys and other stuff. And that was important to me, but it led to like asking more questions that tie into like the industry, like asking for those people that were like students in game dev, what their advisors were telling them, what types of resources they had. And it was really scary to me that like, I heard this story at least a few times that someone in programming was being directed to like try to get a job at like Sprint or, T-Mobile because getting into, or AT&T, because getting in with a mobile company would be a good entrance into trying to develop mobile games, which that's a horrible strategy. I have no idea.
How does that work? Because Apple's not going to give you a break if you work for them.
Right. And why that's happening. And like, I wish I could say that was like 5 years ago and it's changed, but I literally heard someone tell the same story like at GDC. So in March.
Oh my God.
It's because universities, they're trying to get their kids jobs, and they work with companies that offer them like, we're going to hire so many of your kids, and they and a lot, even within departments like computer science or game, no one has enough time to explore the games industry and all the and I really think that the industry right now, the games industry, is like the Wild West. So it takes kind of knowing about so many things that are changing like every day, every month, that it's hard for those advisors to like pull all of that in when they steer their kids. And that's why there's a few programs that I work on that, try to bring, like there's one that's called Game Dev House where it's like a game dev booking agency that has like over 200 game devs in it. And it allows any group anywhere that knows about us to try to arrange for a developer to get to either on site or remotely. And it's really, I like to call it like counteracts the I'm just going to be candid, I'll say the FU Nebraska effect, where like if you're in Seattle or Dallas, well, you've got lots of resources with games, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you're in Nebraska, like
you ain't got nothing. You got trees.
Right. So but at this day and age where like we've got internet, the online community, there's no reason that we haven't solved for X, and made sure that like anyone anywhere can get that assistance, so long as there are devs willing to help them, and there are devs willing to like participate. There are people at the biggest AAA companies that have heard about this concept that are like, yeah, if I'd love to be involved, if the audience is right, I'll do that talk for free. And so it's really just a sort of connection thing, right? And I consider myself like a connector. That's a personality type, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a really awesome service, though. Like, if you think about it, there are some people that wouldn't even know where to start with that, or even how to get the help. I mean, you could go online and Google stuff, but reading is only going to go so far before you need to talk to someone who's got the experience in it.
Right, and it's schools, groups, any group that's trying to curate content, whether a speaker or a class, they take some sort of step to try to figure out what that is or to prepare it themselves. But what better way to do that with game dev than to have developers teach something? It doesn't need to be the whole class. It could be like 10 weeks of class. It could be one class, or maybe it is a month, or maybe it is like 4 weeks of class. Either way, like. And for game devs participating, it's something we don't usually do, but might be very interested in doing, to be able to talk to a class of like a couple hundred people about your game and your experiences with it, because that's part of the focus of the class. That's really awesome.
That's awesome. But it also gives you a good insider view, because let's face it, some people don't understand what goes into it. It's like they think it's just going to be this and super easy and it's going to go clean. And some people don't expect the speed bumps that you'll hit. Well, regard to music, artwork. It's like there's a lot that goes into it, and people just think it can just be like thrown together and hey, have a great day type thing, and that's really not how it goes.
Right. No, like the first like 3 lessons, or I don't even know if I'll count them the right way, but the first game you make is going to be terrible. Everything is going to go wrong. Everything always goes wrong and is always on fire. That doesn't change. Like, so yeah, it's, you gotta, I've had to humble a few like entrant developers that are like, I want to make a free roam environment. I want to make an open world game with crafting and this and that. And I'm like, and that's the first game you want to make?
Good luck with that.
let's walk it back, right? Let's go to QBasic. Maybe not quite that far back, but I'm gonna tie it all together, a couple pieces together. Like, back to the inspiration question. The things that inspire me the most are, like I said, ambitious projects and ones in particular that do good for lots of people. So like I consider like the recycling thing that I did, that involved 2,000 Greek students that were Greek people, like organizing stuff, and it got the city recycling. Nice. I didn't feel that way about like life, like how the way I felt then, until I started doing Game Dev House, and there's another program that is sort of down for the moment, but it will come back again, that provides mentorship. So like anyone that's qualified, like actually on a career path, could get connected to someone that's giving them like an hour a week of guidance, and online over the phone. And I've helped that program too. That's things,
awesome too.
Yeah, like I heard about that. They reached out for some help, just getting a few things here and there, reaching out to some schools. And I looked at it and I was like, this is the big brothers and big sisters of the games industry. Like there's no reason why, if you're talented, and there's so many talented people out there, that you should not be getting advice. It should be hard for you to get, basic advice on how to get into games.
Yeah, that's awesome too, though. And those are really cool, awesome services. I mean, that's not something you see every day. I'd have to say that's actually pretty damn unique. I like to think so, and it also pains me to think of it that way too, because the fact that it wasn't being done, and I'm trying to expand. So at this point, in reaching out to all those schools and a lot of event groups too, things like regional Comic-Cons and sci-fi cons, it's surprising how disconnected all of those groups have been from the games industry. And so I've tried to now take the next step and see and start telling other indies and people that communicate with hundreds of indies about those, to open those spaces up, because it's not about being unique. It's about solving a problem of like connecting the industry to like the rest of society. It should be connected. In this day and age, everything should be connected, but we know people can be a little highfalutin too.
There's that. There's some for instance, like things need to change, not just for society, but for us too. So people that, want to break into streaming, right? I hear a lot of people that are like, they've got 50 Twitch followers, whatever. How do I get better? And yet they only want to play the most popular games, And it's like, you have to realize that if you're looking for strategies to grow, you have to also think differently, and you can't, just play the game you want to play the most, that everybody wants to play the most of, and expect to establish anything different, really. I mean, unless you're super creative and all that stuff.
That's the truth. Total truth. That's really cool about those services, though. Really, really awesome. Now let me see here. Now, you said you took a little break from gaming. So I'm going to ask you, what games did you enjoy playing in 2014?
2014. So that's actually when I picked up Elder Scrolls.
Okay.
And a month later, because one of my teammates was like, that Lightspire game, it sounds a lot like Elder Scrolls. And a month later, I was like, you really shouldn't have done that to me. That was mean.
Did you lost your life for a month, and then it's like the doors opened and like the angels sang, and you walked out of your house and you're like, I'm alive.
It was exactly like that, right? Like I was a level 70, like maxed up to 100 with,
God.
I think like a great moment, gaming moment was when I had, I think what is two, not necromancer, but 2 conjured shapes plus like 2 followers and at that point you're totally OP'd, so it doesn't matter anyway. But I'm like, why can't I stop playing this game?
Why me?
But that's like the effect of like I mean, a little break is sort of understating it. I stopped playing games. When I started playing games, I'm just gonna make myself old here, right? First multiplayer game, Trade Wars, BBS. Do you remember these days?
Yes.
Yeah, old school.
I used to play MUDs back in the day.
Loved MUDs back in the day.
Oh my god.
So like I fell out of games around the time of like after Half-Life 2, after Counter-Strike basically became the thing. I really never liked it at the time because it was just it looked to me like people doing the same thing over and over and over again, which wasn't my sort of style of play. And then was in school and slowly fell out of playing, and then like all the new platforms, and you just feel behind. And it was literally like I had started the game studio, and you know, people were in my basement at that time in Illinois playing games, and I was like, if I don't start playing games again, I'm gonna be full of baloney pretty quickly here. Like
You're gonna be out of the loop.
I was already out of the loop, but I was going to shows, and I was like having my team members like I called it game whispering me, like, all right, so that's Borderlands over there, that's Randy Pitchford. Like I'm like, oh, okay, so Borderlands is, they're like, you know, that city block at PAX, that's Borderlands. So like I was super out of the loop, and I've worked, you know, I say worked, but like I've played games to catch up. That's my plight. I have to play more games. But
the travesty. The struggle is real.
I know, right? Let's see. Other games I picked up. I played some indie games like One Finger Death Punch. I think was a pretty cool game. Hearthstone. I haven't gotten into it too much, but like as far as new games in the competitive space, I love it. I get it. I want to play more of it.
I was hooked on Hearthstone when it first came out. I was in the beta and everything like that. But I play a lot of games all the time, and it's like I have to be in the mood for a card game, unless it's straight up old school Magic. And I'm not talking like the new rules or anything like that. I'm talking like old rules. You know, just
I know what
card
you're talking
game
about. I
Magic.
come from those days.
Oh my god. It's like, you know, I will sit and play Magic with my friends around the table for hours.
I would also do that. That would be something I could do forever. Let's see. And Grand Theft Auto 5, right? That was like, I mean, I love to see it where it's at right now, and you know, with first person. Like two E3s ago, so roughly like 2 years ago, I remember having a conversation about it, and you know, this is like one of the earliest places where I was thinking about esports a little bit more seriously. And I was just like, it'd be so cool if there were just something different in the world of esports. And I looked at Grand Theft Auto 5, and I was like, that could be an esport. There's so many things within that could be turned into something that not only is competitive, but more importantly, like, it's fun to watch, you know?
It is. There is a lot in that one. It's like they put a lot, like GTA 3 had a lot in it. Then you went to Vice City, which had more in it, but generally the same. San Andreas, they added more. Now it's just like, there's just stuff all over the place.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, it's and I mean, there's really no limit to what. There's few limits to how much fun you can have in it now. And I think I get the sense that the way it's been built, there's like no limits to what you could build with it, right? They could take that platform and like, you know, put it in space or you could do so much with it. And they've built the fan base. You know, they've got the eyeballs, so they should do it, right? They should turn that stuff into create more events from it, because it's good, you know? It takes us into a different place as far as a game.
It does. Yeah, it's that total immersion type thing where you're free to do what you want. But there's obviously consequences, but it's not like going out and jumping a ramp with your car in real life.
Right,
Whereas
exactly.
you could just experiment and be like, hey, this is cool, let me go do this just for fun type thing.
Like, one of my earliest gaming, like, attached to this brand was, like, in the first GTA, was that you could, this is, I think, before they even had rampages as a feature in the game. But you know that you played with, like, your friends and, you know, whatever, and just tried to kill as many people as you could. And that was, like, a great example of a game within a game that was player-driven, right? It's just an idea that you could obviously do, so you did.
Yeah. Yeah, they did some cool stuff with those games, and they've only gotten better. So, I mean, and it pains me because it's like, do I want to buy it? Because everybody's buying it. It's like, but there's so many good indie games out too. But it's like, there's so much to do in those. It's like, eventually you're going to buy it. If you don't get it on release day, it's eventually going to be in your library.
Of course. But what won't eventually end up in your library if it's on PC because, sales, deals.
Yes. Yeah, bundles.
Yep.
Now, what would you say is your favorite game of all time?
Favorite game of all time? Tough. I'm going to probably just quickly go with Trade Wars. It was a space trading game on the BBS's way back in the day that got me into multiplayer games the first time, that sucked up all my hours when I was like 12, and then broke my spirit when the sysop decided we got too good, so he was going to destroy it. He was going to get into the game and just break us. So I learned to love and hate multiplayer games all at once. Or Elder Scrolls. Truly, probably Elder Scrolls for just how much was in there.
And what would you say is your favorite moment that you've ever had in a game? Has anything impacted you, like, emotionally, or changed the way you think about a certain situation in real life?
I don't know if I've had anything of that level of significance. I mean, outside of maybe stuff that's happened within my own game, that's just a personal experience within the development. Mm-hmm. So, like I was telling you before, that there was a game that I was playing the original Primal Carnage at like 1 a.m. and I hopped into a server where I was playing against another team that was just amazing. They were running these coordinated strategies with running cross plays with the Carnos, swooping in with it was all so perfect. And I realized for the first time, people are training to play our game. That's amazing. That's unfathomable. And I took our own game more seriously because I realized people cared enough about it. So, sorry if that's a little bit narcissistic, but I haven't had that. I haven't played enough games to really experience that. I think with
No, that's fine. It's a favorite moment in any game, whether it's your own or somebody else's. It's not. I'm not saying it can't be your game, but that is really cool. Now, going forward, do you already have a next title that you're going to be working on lined up, or are you specifically dealing with just Primal Carnage Extinction right now, and the content that's going to be going into that, or is there something that's kind of
it's a little bit of a hybrid. So like the thing I would guess that most immediately, and this is like something that might happen this year, is we may end up publishing. It's something that I personally really want to do, and I know a lot of our team members do too. We're really interested. I mean, we're interested in the Primal Carnage brand and in big projects like that call for like UE4 and stuff like that. But we also would really love to be involved with something that doesn't take a year or two to make. And we've heard from a few teams and talked to them at length about their games that we're excited about. Can't say anything specifically, but I'll just say that it'll probably be something that is a little bit more 8-bit and very interesting, right?
Oh.
Anyway, so there's that. But then going back to Primal Carnage, we really would love to see this brand and believe this brand can be like more than like a one and done, not just a straight like it's going to port, but to really develop the brand to other types of games. And we've talked with a few other studios about how to bring that into a different sort of game, like something mobile or something, as far as like Genesis, a lot of people ask us about that, which was something that was announced and sort of put on hold indefinitely, like a campaign mode in UE4. I think that if things go well for us with Primal Carnage, we will come back to that because we know people really want it.
Ooh. So that's pretty cool. Let me get over here because we do have some viewer questions. I know Spectrum was the beginning of the event. Spectrum wants to know, is the game moddable?
That's a great question. And so here's some juicy gossip for this channel, right?
Oh, juicy.
So right from the get-go, when we took on this thing, we wanted it to get we wanted it to be moddable, and it's very important because we think that that's really the best way you can deliver on fans, giving them the ability to do stuff. So we're shooting for that. We're really going to try to do that by maybe the next content update or the one after that. Not the one that's next week, but So we're doing stuff like cleaning up asset packs and, you know, trying to create more content that people can work with, putting in some really special tools that will make it even easier to do to not only build the game. Level editor will probably be like the first thing that happens, and then either at the same time or thereafter, like the ability to create, to work with skins, and to do it in a curated way. If we do anything that's like market oriented, you will see us be curators and not just open it up for anybody to, you know, mess things up with.
Gotcha. Old Fox wants to know, what is your favorite dinosaur?
The Terra, for sure. I love being able to fly around with it. I like the fact that in this patch that's coming out next week, that it's a little bit closer to the way it was in the first game. It's a little bit more controlled. But I love the Terra. Yeah, short answer. Sorry.
Grimbone wants to know, ever thought about Twitch integration into your games?
I think we've thought about it. We've been focused so much, you know, with the team that we have. It sounded big when I described it before, but it's never enough on just getting the base game built. In the month ahead, we're going to be working on at least a few integrations of some things like keyboard stuff, player platform stuff. I don't know. I haven't really explored recently the Twitch integration, but it'll probably be something that we look at.
Alrighty. Mass says, Aaron, will you be supporting Dondi with his new dinosaur game, The Isle?
Really? I'm not laughing at that game. I'll just say that it's something that we have had, or at least our team members have had some conversations with him even in the last week. So that's all I'll say, is that we're aware of it. You know, we definitely like the fact that we like the project he's embarking on.
Okay. Old Fox again. He says, what do you think that is different about your game from the other games?
From which other games? Like other games in general, or from the first game?
He doesn't specify. I would probably say the games that are the style, the competitive shooting, or other dinosaur games.
Okay. Okay. So from other dinosaur games, at least most that preceded us, you can play as dinosaurs, right? And even from some of the other ones that are out there now or that are coming out, they're playable dinosaurs.